I get quite a few inquiries about the various editions of the Rainbow Orchid, even so many years after its first publication. Some people are a bit confused about the number of volumes, some want to know what's easiest to get hold of, and some are collectors who want certain or even all editions. So I've made this video as a guide to editions and translations, which I hope will be of help to those who are interested. The Rainbow Orchid first saw print properly in the anthology title BAM! Bulldog Adventure magazine, created and published by Jason Cobley and featuring his own long-running Bulldog character. I contributed financially to the printing, and the Rainbow Orchid appeared in issues 22 to 26, published between December 2002 and November 2003. Each episode was 6 pages, except for the last, which was 8. It was in black and white, A4 size, and it was great because it gave me little deadlines to help get the first volume, as it later became, completed. And it was also useful for reader feedback thanks to the letters page, so I knew it was getting a positive response, and that helped to keep it all going. The Rainbow Orchid Part 1 was published in October 2003 in A4 magazine format with a colour cover and black and white interior. It sold out pretty quickly within the UK small press scene, including over 100 copies at the London Comic Winterfest in November of 2003. I wasn't too pleased with the printing on it, but it gave the Rainbow Orchid a slightly wider presence and a lot of positive reviews, all of which helped to make sure it continued. These are quite rare now, and a couple have sold on eBay for fairly high prices. Barry Renshaw invited me to contribute the Rainbow Orchid to his comic anthology Fusion, so the next instalment appeared in Fusion issue 4. Again, it was black and white A4 magazine. There were 2 versions, a smaller edition limited to 30 copies and rushed out for the 2004 Comics Winterfest, which included a little sketchbook section, and then the full proper issue saw print in March 2005. This was basically the first 8 pages of what would become Volume 2. Can't remember if there was a Fusion issue 5, but the Rainbow Orchid only appeared in issue 4. In March 2005, I'd started colouring the strip and putting it up on my website, which began to attract a larger audience on its own anyway. I decided to do a special collector's limited edition of Part 1, with 50 copies to help raise some funds, so I put together a hardback book version using Lulu in November 2007. The test copy came back and looked great, so I went ahead and ordered the full run, but I was really disappointed with the colour in the books when they arrived. They were nowhere near as good as the test copy, so I was a bit embarrassed to send the books out, but I had to do it. It took several months, but I eventually did get some compensation from Lulu. But each book was numbered, signed, and had a sketch in it. By the time the book came out, I was in negotiations with Egmont and sort of had to get their blessing for me to publish the limited edition, but they were fine as long as it was only 50 copies, though I didn't sign the contract with them until early 2008. The Egmont editions came out in August 2009, July 2010 and April 2012. There was some discussion over whether it should be a single book, which was my preference, or individual volumes, Egmont's preference, and that's what we went with. Egmont were the UK publishers of Tintin, so the format is pretty similar, softback albums of roughly the same size, though the Rainbow Orchid has a glossy laminate on the title and main characters on the cover. Volume 2 went to a second printing. The first edition has a lighter title backing and the book was printed in Singapore. If it's printed in Italy, then you have a second edition. Volume 3 didn't get much of a chance to sell as the complete edition came out very close to it, just a few months later. So with Volume 1 having a bigger print run and Volume 2 being reprinted, Volume 3s are hard to find now. The complete edition came out in what I believe is called a flexi-bind format, sort of a halfway house between softback and hardback, in September 2012, and that collects volumes 1, 2 and 3, the complete story, under a single cover. It also includes a section at the back with sketches, references and development and process notes. Egmont were also going to publish a limited edition deluxe hardback, but that didn't happen in the end. The Dutch editions were published by Silvester Strips in September 2010, April 2011 and June 2012. They're large-sized hardbacks, and like the Egmont editions, they have a laminate on the cover, including the Silvester logo, which looks quite nice. The insides are pretty much the same as the Egmont editions too, though with a slight overuse of the maps. Quite a few of the foreign editions came with various extras. The high-quality prints of the Volume 3 cover here were made for the Stripdagen Festival in Haarlem, and they also made some very nice Julius Chancer coins as part of Silvester Strip's 20th anniversary celebrations. Also at Stripdagen was released the Rainbow Orchid box set, so not a complete edition, but a nice quality box, or cassette as it was called, with all 3 volumes included. The Spanish editions were published by Netcom 2 Editorial in 3 volumes in November 2012. They're hardback, a bit smaller than the other European editions, but basically the same as the Egmont productions, though with a few sketches in the back. The colour isn't great in some places, but otherwise they're quite nice. In April 2014, a complete edition was produced, though it was made by removing pages from the individual volumes and rebinding them. So you get all the title pages and end pages in between each section. A little DIY, but it does the job. The German books were published by Salleck Publications, 3 volumes in October 2013, June 2014 and October 2015. They're very similar to the Egmont editions, about the same size, softback, but no lamination on these. A few sketches were included at the end of each, and volumes 2 and 3 have the short strips The Sword of Truth and The Girdle of Polly Hipple, which were put into colour for them. The French albums were published by BD Must Éditions in March 2013. Each one came with a signed book plate. The sketches you can see in the front there were just me testing out my pens for a trip to Angoulême. Volume 2 does have a little sketchbook in the back. In about October 2019, BD Must produced a box, or more like a wraparound, for the 3-volume set. It featured the art for the Egmont complete edition on the front, and inside was the art done for a first draft of the Volume 3 cover that was never really intended for print, but they needed some unused art, and there it was. Produced alongside the French books was the Dossier, an abridged version of the Rainbow Orchid supplement I'd published in November 2012 alongside the complete edition. It contains a few interviews, drawings and sketches and bits. The Dossier came in 2 colours, brown for readers and blue for retailers. They also printed a flipbook containing the Girdle of Polly Hipple and the Sword of Truth in black and white, and again in consumer and retailer versions. The Rainbow Orchid supplement was self-published in November 2012 to coincide with the complete edition, and it contains the full annotations for the complete book, notes on research and references, as well as a number of sketches, a bibliography, some interviews and other bits and pieces. There's a PDF version you can download from my website, which is slightly expanded with some extra material, some extras. In 2013, Panel 9 licensed the UK editions from Egmont for an iPad version of their Sequential platform. This included volumes 1, 2 and 3 as well as the complete edition. Sadly, Panel 9 fell out with Egmont over the licensing of some other archived material, so they cancelled all Egmont titles on the platform, including the Rainbow Orchid, so it was only on there for a little while. The Danish books were published by Tellerup, Volume 1 in 2015 and Volumes 2 and 3 in 2017. The gap was because publication was almost cancelled, but thanks to the efforts and dedication of the editor, Michael Larson, they did eventually complete the set. I'm glad they did, because these, I think, are the nicest editions of the Rainbow Orchid. Really beautiful quality books. The Secret of the Samurai first saw publication in the Phoenix comic across 4 issues in June 2013, numbers 75 to 78, each episode printing 5 pages. It was also available on iPad through the Phoenix's digital edition, published through Sequential. In August 2020, BD Must Éditions published The Secret of the Samurai in a single volume, backed up with The Girdle of Polly Hipple and The Sword of Truth, both in colour. There's a slight difference to the Phoenix version, with a page rewritten and drawn, and the ending changed slightly. It was published as Julius Chancellor Volume 4 in French and Spanish, and also apparently in German, Dutch and English, which you can see example copies of here, but I don't actually know anyone who's been able to buy an English edition anywhere. But a very nicely produced book.